Welcome back to DVC Weekly. This is episode 129. My name is Jason Opling. I'm the broker of Buy and Sell DVC. I'm here with the cruise man himself, Scott Ferrioli.
I'm the owner of DVC-Rental.com and BuyandSellDVC.com.
And today is July 26, 2023. 11 months from today is June 26. Just so, again, 11-month window. At your home resort, you can book 11 months out. At your resort that you don't own at, you can book up to 7 months in advance. So that date is going to be February 26, 2024. Let's see, buy and sell DVC.com, DVC-Rental, DVC-Rental. Remember the dash to save the cash. We're going to start with the buy and sell side of things. And one thing that, it's not a huge trend that's going on, but I just want to mention because, and of course, we have brand new people tuning in every week. We have to remember that, we have people tuning in. They don't know about DVC. Sometimes we go off on our tangents about desserts. People out there need information about DVC, So these DVC resorts, they all have a different end date, but there is a decent amount of resorts that expire 2042. One of those resorts did have an extension, so some people own at Old Key West expires 2042, and some people own at Old Key West that expires 2057. But as we sit here in 2023, the 2042 date, that does seem to be getting closer. I don't know if it feels closer for you. It feels closer.
Feels like it's creeping up.
Yeah.
And, for people, who are involved in the business, you sit there and it makes you wonder, okay, we're getting a little closer. Disney hasn't said anything yet. What's going to happen? I know we've discussed this in the past and nobody really knows exactly what's going to happen. So in the comments, don't ask us because we don't know.
I mean, again, my guess is that if anything's going to be decided, it's going to be a whole, after 2037 or after, when it gets much closer to the date, because they see what the vacation trends are at that time, and they see how many times I've been going to Vero Beach, and they have to check out those things.
Yeah, I'm guessing they're just gonna sit there and say, okay, as of 2042, the beach club, as an example, ends. So we're gonna restart selling them brand new 2042's beach club, good for 50 years for $400 a point. I'm assuming it's just going to start over and the prices are going to, but you never know.
Yeah, because so much has to do with the fact that what inventory they're selling of their own at that time. Yep. Because if they have all this inventory lined up, do they really want to take on all this beach club inventory? Again, there's so much. So, but I just want to mention that they do have end dates. So you have Old Key West, Boardwalk Beach Club, Hilton Head, Vero Beach, Boulder Ridge, and some of those people are, they're kind of making a decision, okay, I'm going to sell this resort and I'm going to buy something that then, because if they jump, you go from 2042, you can jump up. The next one is Saratoga 2054. So if they sell that, let's say they sell that Boardwalk property and then they buy a Saratoga, now they just extended their membership by 12 more years. Yeah. So there are people that are doing that. And then you say, but then, who out there, who's going to buy my resort that expires 2042? Well, there's still people that are buying these resorts that expire 2042 because they want to get in at, say, Boardwalk and Beach Club, because they want to book that reservation 7 to 11 months in advance. But there's also people out there who I'm talking to that are in the age range of, let's just say they're above 60, and they're like, I just want to buy Old Key West because I can get it at a decent price. They feel like a fair price, and I'm going to use it for the next 20 years. I'm going to use my points. How I'm going to use my points, and I'd better use my money to buy, X amount of points at Old Key West than to say use my money to buy X amount of points at, say, the Polynesian. Yeah. So you have that going on. Really, I'm not in the, some people, they ask me my opinion. It comes down to, that's just a matter of personal choice, because you really have to dive into how you're using your membership, especially when you come across people that have been making most of their reservations under 7 months already for the last 5, 7, 10 years. So for them moving into, say, a Saratoga, it's not a huge factor because they can continue to do that same thing that they've already been doing. And if you have someone that says, they bought the boardwalk, they loved the boardwalk for X amount of times, but then they started, okay, let's bounce around here, let's go here, let's go here. It just becomes easier for them to sell it because they're not as tied to, well, if I don't get boardwalk under 7 months, I'm not worried about it anymore. So it's something to consider. You look, you have a deep thought there.
I'm sorry. I was just looking at the food review, kind of going. I was trying to peek ahead because I figured it seemed like you were kind of trending down a little bit. I'm like, okay, I got to start looking at the food review, so I have to sit here and stare at it while I'm talking.
Where you ate at.
I have to remember where I ate at. So sorry.
So
I swear I was paying attention.
So that was just I don't think he was.
Scott, you're staring at your paper. You have no idea that I just called your mother a name. What?
But we're on to the food review of the week here.
Oh, now we're going to go to the food review.
Yes.
Come here, I'm gonna eat you! Get in my belly!
All right, for today's food review, I'm at Pecos Bill Tall Tale Inn and Cafe at Magic Kingdom, or just Pecos Bills if you want to abbreviate it. I tried the pork carnitas rice bowl for $12.29. It's yellow rice topped with seasoned pork, grilled peppers and onions, black beans, lettuce, tomato, sour cream, and salsa.
That sounds perfect.
It sounds very good. I want to point out that what they're calling pork carnitas, it's just pulled pork. Pork carnitas are normally it's cubed up and kind of like fried. And it was one of my favorite things that they served at Olivia's at Old Key West pre-pandemic. And when they opened back up, they took the pork carnitas off the menu and I stopped going there. But if anybody's watching, please bring the pork carnitas with the chimichurri sauce back to Olivia's. It was one of my favorite things on property. But I digress.
It says rice bowl. You didn't.
I know. You didn't. It's called a rice bowl. It wasn't. You figure you get a bowl, with everything in there. It's essentially just like one of those side dishes that you get with put French fries in, like the little paper side dishes. I mean, you probably saw the picture. So you don't even get a bowl, which I really wish. It would have been much easier to eat it in a bowl than eat it in this little side pocket thing. And over the past couple of years, they've removed the toppings bar there, because normally you could go over there and get some more guacamole and extra lettuce and tomatoes and all the sides to put on there to build it up a little bit, because it is a very small amount. That's gone. So, I mean, it used to be a lot better, in my opinion. I mean, not that I've had this specific one before. Normally I used to get the fajita platter and do the same thing. You get the fajita platter, I'd go to the toppings bar, I load up with all the stuff I want. And a lot of times my wife and I used to share the fajita platter, which is why maybe they cut back on this type of stuff, is that, I had all this stuff on the side and I'm eating mostly vegetables and they didn't want that. But I probably wouldn't get this again. It was still decent. I give it a 7.7, but I'd probably go back to the fajita platter because it's very, very similar to this, except you also get the nice fajitas with it. And it's just, I think a little bit better, but I really wish that I was excited because I wanted the pork carnitas and it was just regular pulled pork. So just a little disappointing on that one just because of a terminology issue, but not bad. 7.7, very similar to the fajita. You might well get it again, but at least give us a bowl.
And now we move on to the rental side of things. I think we're still on the cruise, which is a good thing.
I don't want to over talk about the cruise too much here.
I don't think we talk about it enough.
Really, because I figured a lot of people are tuning for the Disney stuff, and I was like, this is all Europe. This has nothing to do with Disney.
Just remember, DVC-Rental, it has your confirmed reservations, and you can look for availability. Back to the cruise.
You nailed it. That's it. Check for Disney rooms. Back to the cruise. Okay, we had an absolutely amazing time while we were in Europe. I think our favorites are probably walking around Santorini in Greece, taking in the amazing views and water views from on top of the island. They took us into some small towns. The shopping in Ia, which is one of the main cities there. That's one you probably see it all over TikTok. It's got all the whitewashed buildings, the churches with the big blue domes overlooking the water. I mean, it's an absolutely gorgeous area. I mean, but very crowded. Santorini is like the number one tourist vacation spot in Greece. Santorini and Mykonos are the two biggest ones, and we did do Mykonos as well. But we like Santorini a lot nicer, like a lot more. I will say, funny story about Santorini. You get off the ship in the morning, and there's two ways to get. You're all the way down the port. You have to get up a cliff to start your day. There's no way around it. And there's two ways to get up there. You can take a cable car, which you wait in line. We're waiting in line for probably 30 minutes. And it's €6 per person. Or you can ride a donkey. You can walk, or they have something called the donkey
I thought you were
steps.
talking about food and land.
No. They have something called the donkey stairs. It's this big path that cuts across up the island. It's a ramp. It's a ramp you're walking up, and then there's a step, a big step. It's for donkeys, and so you can ride a donkey up the cliff, or you can try to walk up it. And there's donkey poop everywhere, so it smells wonderful. So on the boat, they're saying, don't take the donkey stairs, take the cable car. So we take the cable car, go up to Santorini, absolutely beautiful. Finish up our tour, drop back off in Ia, which is the main area where the cable car and the donkey steps are, because we've got to go now back down the mountain to get to the ship. And they say the last boat's at like 8 o'clock at night, and it's probably 5 p.m. at this time, and the line has got to. I mean, it's like down the street, it's got to be a 3-hour plus line.
400 people probably.
More.
Okay.
Well over 1,000 people in line. I mean, huge. So we're like, oh gosh, if we go in the back of this line, we might not make it. We'll take the donkey steps. Worst choice ever. Essentially, you're walking 1.5 miles going down and these steps. And every time you hit one step, you take like 3 steps down a step, 3 steps down a step. It's just killing your knees. This is the first place we stopped, which is one of the reasons I was icing myself the whole cruise, is that these donkey steps are killing us. And sometimes donkeys are going past us. People are pulled up on the side, you're holding onto the rails, and it's steep and slippery, and there's donkey poop everywhere, and it smells horribly. It was just a nightmare. So, I mean, some people said that it was about a 2.5 to 3 hour line to sit there and take that stupid cable car. But I mean, I was like, I don't want to sit there and stand out in the sun for 3 hours in this line going super slow waiting for a cable car. I'm like, let's just walk down the steps. How bad could it be?
It was bad.
I probably should have waited for the cable car. But anyway, so didn't like that about Santorini, but Santorini is absolutely beautiful. One of the best things. Next, I'll go Florence. Florence city mixed with these amazing Duomos and churches, hundreds of years old. So you've got entire gigantic buildings that are just made out of different colored marbles. So like the design, it's got these like patchwork patterns in this whole huge building. I'll show you pictures later. Huge building, and it's all different colors and everything. It's all different colored marbles the whole time. They're pieced in there, and it's absolutely magnificent. I've never seen anything like this before.
Were people, I just have to ask this question because I'm just curious. Were people in Greece, I mean, I heard ouzo's a big thing there. Like they drink ouzo 4 p.m. before their dinner.
I've heard the same exact thing. There was no mention on ouzo on any of the tours or anything. There was alcohol mentioned in Italy a lot, but no. I mean, again, I've heard ouzo, same exact thing about ouzo. Ouzo was not mentioned on anything. But yeah,
like the night in Greece, like the NCL wasn't serving ouzo with your dinner. Okay.
No, but yeah, like Italy has a limoncello, which is made out of famous lemons that they have there. They're big sweet lemons. I tried that. That was pretty decent. But
and I forget, your kids are how old again?
They're 12 and 15.
Okay.
12 and 15.
And they enjoyed this trip. It was
yes. They had a really good time. My oldest one especially, he likes history and stuff like that. So I think the 12-year-old really enjoyed it as well. But I think the 15-year-old really appreciated it more than the 12-year-old did because he understood it more. And they're telling us about like the next one. Like we went to Malta, and the city, it's this tiny island around the water, and the whole outside of the city is just built with a big like fortress around it with these big walls. And they're telling you about like in this 1200s, these people invaded and this, and it's these beautiful old buildings inside, but surrounded by fortresses, and you're on this water. And we took part of our cruise, or part of our tour, was that like the little gondolas that they have in like Venice. They had like those little boats, and they had 6 people allowed in the boat, and they were powered by a small little engine. And the guide, there was 50 of us on our tour, and they just put us in these little boats, and they just drove us around like the marina, and they showed us different things. Absolutely gorgeous. Did that for a half hour. They were showing us where, right now they're filming for the new Gladiator. Gladiator 2 movie is going to be coming out. Yeah, it's supposed to take place in Rome.
And you guys signed some waivers to be
No,
extras?
I didn't have to do that. I wish. It was filmed in Malta, though. And so it was like from what we heard, I want to root it for people. Russell Crowe is there filming. Russell Crowe in the first movie passed away. But apparently he's there, and there's some other big people in it. And it was a absolutely gorgeous. I mean, it was one of those things. It's hard to explain. Have you been to Europe?
Yeah.
I mean, you're seeing this stuff and it doesn't seem real. I mean, you sit there, you walk into a square, and just there's these buildings with just again these different colors and these patterns. You're like, I've never seen anything like this in my life. It's unbelievable.
I mean, I keep saying Greece. So if you were to tell someone, I'm just saying Greece. Mm-hmm. So do you recommend the way you went on a cruise ship? Or would you say, oh, go to Greece for 7 nights, or you're not 100% sure yet?
Not 100% sure. I mean, we went to essentially 4 different places in Rome. Sorry, 4 different places in Italy, and they're all very, very different. So I think the best thing to do, I mean, if you're thinking about this and you think, I would say do exactly what we did. Because then you get a little flavor. You get a little flavor of everything.
What was it called? The donkey.
No, avoid the donkey path, though. But do what we did.
It's so funny that you said biggest regret, and then 5 minutes later you're like, do exactly what we did.
Besides the donkey, no, I mean, do the cruise and get a taste of everything. Again, all these different places in Italy, all these different places in Greece, and then you go, I really love these 2 areas, and then you want to go back. You get a little taste of each little place, but you want to go back and say, Florence was amazing. I'd love to do 3 nights in Florence and then 3 nights in Rome. You want to sit there and go back and pick and choose. But this was a great way to get the experience, so many different things, to realize what you may like.
So I'm sorry but I have to ask more questions. So you go on a Caribbean cruise, right? And let's just say your stop is at, say, Ocho Rios, Jamaica. Mm-hmm. And there's people that 25% of the people, they've been there before. They're not getting off. And there's other people that they're just not getting off. Mm-hmm. So you have...
Everybody's getting off.
That's my question. On this ship here, is it the entire ship
I think so. I can't imagine there were too many people who stayed on the ship. You know what?
Let me go down the water slide.
We're in Florence. Let me do the water slide instead.
That's what I was... So
that's why I didn't do the water slide. I was like, you get off because there's so much stuff to see, and you don't want to miss these places because, odds are I'm not going to be back in Crete again.
Right,
when else am I going to
exactly.
go to Crete, Greece? You want to experience it. Now that I've been there, I go, I wouldn't go back to Crete, but I wasn't going to miss it because I wanted to do the water slides by myself.
And then a majority of your stops, are you docked or tendered?
There were 3 tenders.
3 tenders.
Of the 9 stops, there were 3 tenders.
And obviously the docks ones, they go pretty smooth because you're just walking on, right?
The tenders, they did a very good job getting everybody off the boat on the tenders. And there were a bunch of the tenders. I was picturing smaller tenders. The tenders probably hold 100+ people on the boat, and they have multiple ones going, rotating through. So you didn't have to wait too long for a tender ever. They were very good. But the last one I said was Rome. Rome was not part of the tour, but we flew into Rome, which is the main airport. Did 2 nights in Rome, went to Civitavecchia, did our cruise, came back, and then took the train back to Rome, where we stayed 1 more night. So we did a total of 3 nights in Rome.
And how long was the flight from Orlando?
Well, there's no direct flights from Orlando. So
you flew from...
On the way there, we flew into Montreal, then to Rome, and on the way back, we flew to Toronto to back home. So both times went into
But you
Canada.
didn't spend the night in Montreal, right?
No, just we had a couple hours connecting between flights.
And so the flight from Orlando to Montreal,
3 hours.
3 hours, and Montreal to Rome?
About 8.
8.
Yeah, about 8 hours. Between 8 and 9.
Is that the longest flight you've ever been on?
Yes.
And how was that?
Not too bad. We flew with Air Canada. The flight for the long flights, I paid a little bit extra. They're big planes, so you got the first class up front. the individual pods, which is wonderful. And then I wish. Then the next ones, I think maybe it was groups of like 3 bigger seats together. And then back, it goes 3, 4, 3. So for both of our trips, we actually, on the way there, we took the 4 in the middle, and we chose the first row. The first row was extra leg room. So we had to pay extra to have the extra legroom spot, so you could lay out. This is just like a wall in front of you, blocking us from the rich people. So I paid extra for that. That was really nice. But the seats are only like this wide. They're super, super tight. So we have tons of legroom, but you are wedged in this seat, and it was pretty uncomfortable for a long flight.
And do they recommend like walking around after so many hours? Or?
Yeah, you're supposed to walk around, and what stunk us on the way down there is that it was a very, very nice plane, but we had the 4 in the middle and walls here, but on each side, the bathrooms are right there. So, and this flight left at, maybe 6 o'clock at night. So, we're getting in like 3 o'clock in the morning or something like that. But in their time, it's 9:30 in the morning. But you're trying to sleep. And there are people who are just coming and hanging out right by the bathroom, and they're chatting and they're like joking. I'm like, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. Shut the heck up. I'm laying there trying to sleep, and they're just people chatting. Like, they're just clueless people who just wanted to get up and walk around. And that's where they would stop, right by the bathrooms. And they would just hang out there and just chat. And I'm sitting there trying to sleep, and there's literally people 3 feet from me just having a conversation, just standing up and having a conversation while I'm laying there.
And your kids slept, or they did fine? Or?
The kids slept perfectly fine. I slept probably on and off for like 45 minutes, and my wife got maybe 10 minutes of sleep at most. She was the most uncomfortable out of all of us. So it was not great.
And so the walking on this trip, that was quite a bit of walking.
Lot of walking. And like Rome.
And there's no way to get out of the walking? Or?
I mean, I'm sure there are other tours, I'm sure, that maybe they don't do as much walking. But the thing is, like a lot of these places, like especially with, Italy, like you get to the port and then you want to go visit Florence. Florence was an 1.5-hour drive. So you get on a big coach bus. Actually, for the Florence trip, we actually had like a private van type thing. It was us and another family. And they drove you 1.5 hours there. So it's not like it was like all the walking, but there's, drive you to places, and then you're just walking around and doing a tour where you're walking, and then you hop back on a bus. So it wasn't terrible. There wasn't too much walking. Rome, there was a lot of walking because there was no real buses. It was just walking tours, and our hotel was on the first stop when we arrived there. We were right by the Colosseum. The second stop, we were closer to the Trevi Fountain and like the Pantheon. But there's a ton of stuff to see. Like again, Rome, Colosseum, the Forum, Vatican, Sistine Chapel, Trevi Fountain, Spanish Steps. Like, we went and visited all this stuff. Also, you end up eating gelato almost daily. Gelato is huge there. Everywhere you go, there's a gelato built, not like a cart, like a store that sells gelato. Every 4 stores is like gelato almost. I mean, it's
good, right?
It's freaking fantastic.
Yeah, because
it's so good. Food was fantastic in Rome. Best pastas I've had in my life, I will say. And I'm still thinking about the pasta I had in Rome. Unbelievably, pretty bad pizza in Italy.
Really?
I can't believe I'm saying this, especially in Rome. The pizza in Rome was not very good. Napoli, is where pizza was invented. And that's where Via Napoli at Epcot takes after. They make the same style pizza as Napoli. I will say the Epcot Via Napoli is as good as the pizza in Naples. And that was the best pizza by far on the trip. I mean, some, I'm trying to think, which one was it? Sicily was pretty decent pizza. But like, I was expecting the motherland, this amazing pizza. None of it was good, that great. Napoli was the best, but I was going, it's very, very similar to Via Napoli, and it just made my kids want Via Napoli. So we're actually you'll be going with the Callahans, Cassandra and her family in like a week or so. So that should be fun. But the pasta, it was like, I watched a bunch of videos online first where they said, oh, you gotta go to this restaurant, you gotta get the pasta carbonara, and you gotta try the cacio de pepe, which is the pasta carbonara is mixed with egg and like different cheese and not prosciutto. Oh God, it starts with the other P. Not prosciutto. I'm gonna remember afterwards. But it's like a bacon, and it was unbelievable. It was this creamy pasta and the super crisp, salty bacon. It was unreal. And the cacio e pepe was like cheese, but there's like extra pepper on it. But again, like the pastas were fantastic. The pizza was meh, but the pastas, and the best penne alla vodka I've ever had in my life. I mean, the people who, you know me, and the people who watch this, I don't score stuff pretty lightly. It's very rarely I give anything a 9 or higher. There were 3 different pastas on this trip that would have been a 9 to, I mean, like some 9.7, 9.6. I mean, some of the best food I've probably ever had. Some of these pastas were unreal. We're just like, oh my gosh, I've never had any pasta close to this.
Are your kids going to study abroad now?
I joked around about that because when we were on the tour, they're like, oh, if you go to this was Greece. They're like, oh yeah, the university's free if you go to it. You have to, apply if you have good grades, but it's free if you go. And I'm like, hey, Trent, what do you think? You want to come to, I forget which one we were, Mykonos or whatever. It might have been Santorini. But he was like, no, I'm good, thank you. But yeah, I joked around, like, you going to be going away, going to Italy and studying abroad? He's like, I don't think so. But they definitely did love it.
Because one of my sons, he's only 13. Things change, obviously. But he wants to do a summer abroad in Greece.
Really?
That's why because when he was doing it, he's like, do you know about this ouzo? And I'm like, the liquor that tastes like black licorice? He's like, yeah, they drink it every day there. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So it sounds like a great trip.
It really wasn't. I'm still tired from it. I've been back for a while now, and I'm still tired.
I'm trying to absorb all the information that you gave me because, again, for us, like I can't. Again, I think your kids must be way more sophisticated than my kids because my kids would not. I don't think they could because my wife and I, we picture like the kids going off to college and then going on a cruise, to Greece, So I'm trying to absorb all this information.
They were really good. I could picture my younger one being bored easily and stuff. He was really, really good. He was into it because he was taking pictures of everything. And he was sitting there, he'd take a picture and he'd show it to me like, that came out good, right? I'm like, yeah, buddy, that looks really, really good. So I mean, he got into it. I think it was a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
It's stuff that you've never seen before. We live by Disney and we've gone cruises. We do Caribbean stuff all the time. This was stuff that was just like, this is outside my realm of what I even thought buildings could look like. And then the churches, we went to so many churches, just walking. I'm sorry, I want to cut you off. Just, you're walking through Rome and there's something that just doesn't look like much on this. Oh, that's a cool looking church. And you walk in and you're like, oh my God. Like just everything so intricate and the murals on the walls and everything inside everything was blow you away over the top. Oh my God. Well, you're learning about stuff and you're like, oh, this is from 1000 BC. And you're like, 1000 BC, 1000 before Christ. You picture think of the Bible. I'm looking at buildings that are 1,000 years before that ever happened. Oh my gosh. It's like, it's kind of like, it's humbling and unreal. You're like, I can't believe I'm here. I can't believe I'm seeing this. I can't believe this stuff exists. I've never seen anything like this.
And did you feel safe 24/7?
Yes. Everything I had seen online, I watched a lot. I sometimes ended up watching like a TikTok or two about Italy, and then all of a sudden everything started coming in about Italy, which worked out perfectly because that's how I learned about a lot of the foods as well. But lots of pickpockets. Watch out for pickpockets. Pickpockets are huge in Italy. We had no issues. I mean, especially like Rome. Rome was where we were by ourselves. Everything else you were with a tour guide. So Rome was really where we were the most vulnerable. And it's a city. And, we're walking through these like little alleys and stuff. Never, I've worked in New York and worked in Jersey City. And it's, I've been in Manhattan, worked in Manhattan. So, you feel more uncomfortable in New York and in New Jersey sometimes at night than you do in Italy. Like you felt safe. You always felt safe. There's people around. And like it was beautiful and old feeling. You felt safe, but you always had to be aware that, I'm wearing a backpack, I'm wearing the backpack. One of my kids stay behind me. Just keep an eye out, because again, the pickpocketing is rampant in Italy.
Oh, really?
Oh, it's huge. A lot of videos have been popping up recently on my TikTok where they actually call them out, and a lot of times it's these pretty young girls. And I saw one arrested. She had like the cops in there. The person filming them. She had like 10 cell phones on her. These pretty young girls, and they work in groups. There were 2 or 3 of them, and one distracts, and just they're going to train, and they kind of like stand on top of you, and they're professionals, and lots of pickpockets, but no issues at all. Had a blast. I
Recommend it?
I'm dying. We're already dying to go back.
Oh, really?
I would love to. It's expensive, obviously. So I don't know when we're going to get to go back, but I want to do something similar again, just because it was so amazing, and it was the best trip I've ever been on. Also, the most expensive trip I've ever been on, but it was absolutely wonderful.
Well, that's good to hear. And is this the month to go for the best weather for that? Or, I mean, you went in...
I went in June.
June.
Mid-June. That's what's hysterical. June is a fantastic time. They say is a fantastic time to go. July starts getting really hot, and same with August. And there's never any rain in June. We got to Rome. It poured. The first 2 days there, it would be okay. We'd go out to go do a tour, pouring down some of the worst... I live in Florida. Some of the worst rain I have ever seen here. We're sitting there with umbrellas. It's shaking us around, and it is pouring, and I'm soaking wet, and my shoes are soaking wet. My socks are soaking wet. That was a bit of a nightmare. And they're all going, this is so weird. It never rains in June. But for like a week and a half before I arrived, it was raining every single day. And I was like, oh my God, how horrible it is. And we got there, and we got hit with it. But when we came back, and then we got on the cruise, I was worried that it was going to be in that area. No rain the entire time, and then on the last day back in Rome, no rain as well. So nice. Everything was perfect except for those 2 days. June is a very good time to go normally.
Hopefully you've made it to the end of this episode as well.
I've bored everybody to death with this. No more Italy stuff.
It was good. It was good.
Maybe he'll pepper it in, but I'm not planning on talking about any more Italy, Europe.
I'm not going to talk about Vero Beach stuff anymore.
Yeah, he says that now. I'm going to mention it next episode.
Please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button. Come back next week. We'll get the episode shorter again.
Let us know if you've been to Italy or Greece or France or Malta.
Greece. I want to know Ouzo. Who's drinking Ouzo? I hear this. I want to know who's drinking Ouzo at 4 o'clock.
Or if you've been to Italy, give us some other ideas, because we're looking at possibly going back to Europe. And where else would you recommend? You know, we're looking at a Scandinavian with a Norway, Denmark type thing in there. England. Like, what are your suggestions? Anywhere else you recommend, or different places in Italy? I still would love to see Venice, and I'd like to see Milan and the full Amalfi Coast. And there's a lot of the things I'd like to see still. So let us know what you've done.
Come back next week. Thanks.
Thank you.